Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. Across the Pacific in Japan, GLEAT had the latest show, G Pro Wrestling 54. As you know, we're getting closer to one of their biggest events taking place, version 6. But we'll be building up to that. But however, there'll be a lot of things that took place in this particular show. And then, of course, we move on to NWA, where we witness one of their latest tours that they did with the Smashing Pumpkins. The World is a Vampire tour, where they head to Australia to take on their very best. And then finally, as you know, we got Gild Rush by NXT. This is where we're going to see many of their championships on the line, and also a #1 contendership in the whole enchilada. And plus, we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's get started with GLEAT, with their latest show that took place. Originally, this was not part of Tuesday Wrestling. This particular show took place back on the 17th of June. Now, the reason I put it part of Tuesday Wrestling was because it was finally uploaded on their YouTube channel on a Tuesday. But let's consider it now as part of Tuesday Wrestling since it was uploaded. So, this one is G Pro Wrestling version 54, I believe. So let's get started. It opened up with a promo with none other than the Black Generation International. Now, as you know, Black Generation International has been trying to prove that they are going to be the #1 faction within GLEAT. As knowing, Kato Ishida has announced that he's injured. You can see there's a cast on it. I don't know what he's saying, but I'm sure he's probably saying that this is not going to stop, Black Generation International to do what they do best, to dominate. Now, our very first match is a 6-man tag match. We have Bulk Orchestra, consisting of Shek Shimatani, Quiet Storm, and of course, Ruchi Kawakami. Now, Bulk Orchestra has recently been dealing with some turmoil within itself. Kazuma Sakamoto has been questioning Kawakami's return. Recently, in this particular match, we see Quiet Storm decided to abandon the red color of Bulk Orchestra. He was wearing purple. But basically, they didn't want it. He got in the face of Kawakami. As you know, I don't know what he's trying to do. But however, their opponents, it's none other than Kaz Hayashi, Keiichi Sato from 60 Seconds, and of course we have, what's his name? And Minoru Tanaka. So that kind of sets it in. But of course, there was a misfire in this particular match. As I mentioned, Bulk Orchestra has not been itself. Kawakami accidentally hit Shek Shimatani, allowing for Keiichi Sato to pin Check and win the match. However, 60 Seconds come out in the promo laughing their asses off, seeing that Bulk Orchestra has now been dealing with some turmoil. Now, 60 Seconds have were the laughing stock by Bulk Orchestra since their formation. But now it's like the tables have turned. So we'll see what happens later after that. Now, our next match, we have Yu Iizuka taking on Yuya Suzumu. Now, I have seen Yuya Suzumu mostly in Pro Wrestling Bazaar and Noah, but he is pretty good. He was able to apply an underhook type maneuver where he used that to lift his person and then apply like some sort of like a backbreaker type. But it was very effective to pick up the win. Next up, we got the Yoshi wrestlers taking the stage. We got Yukari Hosokawa teaming up with Unagi Sayaka to take on Izuki Aoki, and of course Momoka Anazono. Now, I know that Momoka and Unagi have teamed up before in a previous event. I just can't remember when. I know that there's been some uneasy things between both Aoki and Unagi in the past. But however, this is more of a warm up. Now, keep in mind, later on, Aoki, along with Hosokawa and Unagi, will be teaming up with Raiden Hagane to take on in an 8-women tag match against Michiko, Aoi, Risa Sera, and Janai Kai. But however, I like how this match now is picking up momentum for both Hosokawa and Unagi. Unagi used her head in order to allow Aoki to misfire on Momoka Anazono, giving her the opportunity to win. So this is a good win for them. But however, they got to build up that momentum before they get to that 8-woman tag match. Next up, we have El Lindaman bringing in a very special guest to be his tag partner all the way from China. Now, I'm not sure if this guy is part of the Oriental Wrestling Entertainment, a promotion that El Lindaman and the members of Strong Hearts were involved. Now, I don't know what's the deal with that promotion. I know that since the world went to hell during the pandemic, we haven't heard anything. We know that OWE has been had a working relationship with AAW, but it's great that they might have brought a friend of theirs from to be part of this. Their opponent is none other than BGI, consisting of Yutani and El Bendito. Pretty good match, but however, it was of course a modified DDT by Yutani onto Junji to give them the win. However, El Lindaman did a little post-match promo talking about his buddy. I don't know if we'll be seeing him more often. I'm sure that many fans will like to see him. Now, our next match, we have 60 Seconds, Jun Tonsho and Tetsuya Izushi taking on Bulk Orchestra members Kazuma Sakamoto and Hayato Tamura. Now, before the bell ring, Bulk Orchestra attacked 60 Seconds to get set out a point. However, was that enough? I have to say it was a pretty good match because 60 Seconds are now trying to raise up the bar to reach for the top. They were the laughingstock and they were part of the lowest of the factions that started out. Remember, the original factions started was Strong Hearts and then Bulk Orchestra, 60 Seconds, Jan's Family, and of course Black Generation International. So it's only a matter of time before anything changes. But it was Izushi with an armbar that allowed them to pick up the win. And there was a big promo that took place thanks to Izushi, sending a good strong message from what we can tell. I'm sure that 60 Seconds will be trying to rise up to the occasion now that they picked up a good win. Now, our next match, we have Soma Watanabe, who is the #1 contender for the G-Rex title, to face T-Hawk. He faces Esperando Azteca, member of the BGI. I have to say it was a pretty good match because the implication is this: even if he loses this match, what does this mean for Watanabe? Does he lose the opportunity for the G-Rex title, or will Azteca take that? However, it didn't go in that way. It was a bit of a very strong drop kick by Watanabe to Azteca to pick up the win. Now, speaking of the G-Rex title, the champion himself, T-Hawk, challenges another member of the Black Generation International, and that is Hartley Jackson. So this is another problem. If Hartley Jackson does pin T-Hawk, does that mean he gets an opportunity of the G-Rex title? Well, T-Hawk, he is a strong SOB, as you see. But he was able to pick up a win when he applied a knee strike right in the face. 1, 2, 3 is over. But however, Watanabe showed up and got into his face, telling him it's only a matter of time until he gets his opportunity to strip that title from him. We'll see when that happens. Now, our main event, we have, of course, the Jan's family, Issei Onitsuka, Yusuke Kodama, and Takanori Ito taking on the members of Black Generation International, consisted of Kotaro Suzuki, Flamita, and Yutani. Now, Black Generation International are still trying to prove they are the #1 faction. However, Jan's family stood their ground as much as possible, but it was, of course, Kodama with a frog splash onto Yutani to give them the win. But now we're seeing the Yans family are picking up momentum to prove that they are going to rise to the occasion no matter what. It's going to be awesome. So I have to say, pretty good show. Can't wait to the next one. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's just move on to the next review, NWA. Okay, NWA versus the World, or is part of the World is a Vampire tour that Smashing Pumpkins have decided to do, and they made their 3-week tour in Australia. So one of their stops is, of course, Ballarat. Australia is a castle that I forgot they call it. This is what happened. We have Thrillbilly Cyrus and Alex Taylor, known as the Southern Six. They take on some local wrestlers, Caveman Ugg and Jake Taylor. So there's 2 Taylors in this. I have to say, I knew that there was some moments in this match where we see Thrillbilly and Caveman. Caveman is almost about a built individual, and I thought that was a good match to show. Of course, Thrillbilly applied a thrill ride onto him into this match, but it was Alex Taylor who picked up the win for his team, giving NWA the win. As for the local talent, not so much. Now, our next match, we have the women's action. We have Aisha taking on Natalia Markova. I have to say, this girl, Aisha, she is very interesting to follow. Now, I never heard of her, but I have to say she put up a good fight. But however, this match ended in a no contest because of the sudden interference by Kenzie Page, who feels she was left out. So that kind of puts an annoyance. As you know, she feels that she's a much bigger star than those two. But that's how it is. We don't know what else they're going to do, but we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have Slex, a wrestler who I have seen before in Pro Wrestling Noah. He takes on Mick Goodyear. Now, this is a very unique match for me because these guys have like the same kind of like, they're trying to show their good looks, their muscles, and all of that. That kind of sets it in. But Slex is one wrestler I am familiarized with because I've seen him in the last year at doing a tour in Pro Wrestling Noah. But it was, of course, the Slexecution, which is like a jumping spinning heel enziguri, whatever that called, front kick, whatever it's called, that put away Mick Goodyear to give him the win. Now, our next match, we have the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title on the line. We have local Adam Brooks taking on Kerry Morton. So you probably can guess that this match is going to be interesting. But I knew by watching this match, there's no way that Kerry Morton's going to lose this match. So he used the showstopper to retain the title. Now, I want to put this up to record. I don't know if we're going to get more of these type of shows because we haven't had Power for quite some time. But we'll see what happens then. We just got to wait and see until next week. But for now, let's move on to our final review, which is NXT. And I think this one is Gild Rush. Okay, our last review, NXT Gild Rush. So this is week 1 out of the 2 weeks we're going to have. It opened up with the NXT North American title on the line. Wesley defends the title against Tyler Bate, where we have Mustafa Ali as a referee. Now, Booker T has often spoke about this during his commentary. He doesn't feel like he can trust Mustafa Ali. There were some moments where you can tell that Mustafa Ali is up to no good. There was moments where he wasn't, counting fast enough, doing unorthodox things. But when the moment arrives, when, of course, Lee was outside and Tyler were still in the ring, I don't know exactly what Mustafa Ali was doing, but it gave time for Wesley to apply the cardiac kick while Lee was still right there, and of course picked up the win. But I think Wes is suspicious about what Mustafa's motives are. That kind of may be coming clear because we know that Wesley has been in this situation where he meets friends and they try to play games. But Tyler Bate was a lot different than that. He wasn't afraid to admit that, yes, I want a shot at the title. But what is Mustafa's real intentions? Well, we'll see about that. Duke Hudson organized a pep rally, as you know. Thea Hill will be challenging for the NXT Women's title against Tiffany Stratton. Of course, everybody were there. Even Thea Hill talked about, how he can tell that Charlie Dempsey doesn't smile, but in his eyes and mind, you can tell he smiles because he's proud that he taught Thea Hill something. But however, Tiffany Stratton is confident enough to believe that there is no way that someone like Thea Hill to defeat her, that she will not be pinned by her or be submitted. However, that will change when, of course, Thea Hill applied the Kimura lock on her and forced her to tap out. But the obvious question does tell: is Tiffany really going to lose, or will she reign supreme? Well, we don't know just yet until we get till next week. Now, last week, the Schism had a very tough loss against, of course, Lee, Ali, and, of course, Bate. However, Joe Gacy feels that he is responsible for it. Even Jagger thought the same thing. But, however, Ava Reigns tried to keep the peace amongst the Schism. So it's still unclear what's happening. Now, while they are going through turmoil, the members of Diamond Mine are also questioning what's up with Schism. They know they have been a major threat to them since they got into their faces. But, of course, things go their way when, of course, they decided to make fun of Julius's ears and his face, whatever. But I thought it was so funny. Now, our next match we have is a number one contendership for the NXT Tag Team titles. We have Brooke Jensen's Josh Briggs versus Hank Ledger and Hank Walker versus Malik Blade and Enofa Edris. Now, these guys who have been tag teams, they fought against each other and their own partners. However, how much this will help them to reach to the top. And I think that was a good test. But however, which team is hungry enough to be the ones to face Gallus for the tag titles? I thought this was a very tough one because it seems like all three of these teams have reshaping themselves. But however, it was, of course, Blade with a frog splash onto Ledger after, of course, Briggs and Jensen took Ledger out, allowing for Edris Enofe to apply a frog splash. 1, 2, 3, our new number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team titles. Now, speaking of our champions, Gallus are now been fully watching this match closely. So they are confident enough they don't believe that they will lose these titles to them. But however, it appears the Lotharios are looking for an opportunity to challenge for these tag team titles. But Gallus, they're not completely interested. They don't believe possibly that they have what it takes to challenge them. But sooner or later, Los Lotharios will be gaining their opportunity somehow. But we just keep an eye on that. Now, as you know, the saga between Eddie Thorpe and Damon Kemp continues. Now, Damien Kemp has been complaining about the way he lost his 2 matches against Eddie Thorpe. But the obvious thing is, what is the stipulated style of match that he's requesting? However, he did say that he's bringing back Raw Underground, which is a style of style that not even Eddie Thorpe can get through. So that's going to take place. But however, while this stipulation was this type of wrestling match took place, the commotion got louder when Roxanne Perez attacks Blair Davenport. Now keep in mind, Blair Davenport was responsible for the attack of several of the NXT women's talent, including Roxanne. So sooner or later, those two will be in the ring to beat the crap out of each other somehow. Now, speaking of our women's division, we have Cora Jade versus Dana Brooke. Now keep in mind, Cora blames Dana Brooke for the loss of what happened in that Battle Royal match. And of course, Dana Brooke would do anything. But there was a moment where we thought that things got out of hand when there was a serious injury from Dana Brooke. And of course, Cora was getting under the skin. That tried to get her back in the ring or whatever she was trying to do. It might have worked. But however, Cora Jade applied a knee submission. But however, because of this, the referee made a very good call to end this match and give it to Cora Jade. However, we don't know if this is one of those days where we don't know how it's going to be. Now, Seth Rollins, as you know, he is in the building. He is set to take on Braun Breaker. However, he got a surprise visit from One, Nathan Frazier. Now, keep in mind, as you guys know, Nathan Frazier was trained by Seth Rollins, and of course, he's proud of him for what he has accomplished. But he also gave him a piece of advice: take care of those that in fact brought you here. So that's what he meant. And of course, he had a surprise visit from our current NXT champion, Carmelo Hayes. And of course, he sees now that the NXT title is in good hands. But of course, he asked him, "Are you ready for Braun Breaker?" And of course, he says the one word: "I don't miss." That's cold. But he told him, the good luck for it against Baron Corbin next week. So basically, of course, Hayes got some good compliments from Seth frickin' Rollins. Now, for a while now, I love this segment. Kind of probably would bring tears into you. As you know, for a while, Mr. Stone was kind of curious about a picture of Von Wagner as a baby. Wagner was not too compelled to talk about it, so he opened up about the picture. So he tells him the story about when he was born. He was born different because of his size of his head. So they told him that he had surgery that took 14 hours. And of course, any parent would know how that feels. And of course, Mr. Stones feels saddened about for what Von Wagner went through. Not to mention because of that scar on his head. He told him how kids used to tease him, bully him because of that. And I'm sure Von Wagner is hurt from that, but I'm sure Mr. Stone will try to help him to use that to get to the top, to make him stronger than he is meant to be. We'll just see what happens until then. Now, as I mentioned before, Eddie Thorpe has now been issued a challenge by Damon Kemp to bring back Raw Underground. However, Scripps and Axiom kind of helped him analyze the whole thing, that he needs a good partner, a training partner to help him. So basically, Thorpe kind of agreed with him. But a very surprising person showed up. What's his name again? Oh yeah, Gable Stevenson showed up and said that he was willing to be his training partner to help him train to face against a guy like Damon Kemp. And that is like, whoa, he's really doing this. So that's going to be amazing to see. So he only has 2 weeks to get that done. Now, as you know, next week in NXT Gild Rush, we're going to see Carmelo Hayes take on Baron Corbin. Now, we all know what Baron Corbin is all about. He can't stand the NXT roster, how they are complaining and all this, and all of that. He thinks that he's going to put a stop to this. But Carmelo Hayes, as you know, he said, "I have faced against wrestlers that came from the main roster. You're no different than them." So, we'll see about that. Now, if you guys remember what I said, what Seth Rollins mentioned to Nathan Frazier, he told him to take care of those that brought him here, brought him to where he's at as the current NXT Heritage Cup champion. He decided to talk to Dragon Lee, thank him for where he got him. So he used those words of advice by Seth Rollins, told him, "How about you take a first crack of the cup?" And of course, Dragon Lee was very honored for that because he did help him out. Now, as you know, recently Stax has been on a mission to find out who ratted out the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo. So he strongly believes Gallus had something to do with it. However, the bar that Gallus actually owns was filled with rats, and then of course Stax attacked Joe Coffey and kidnapped him. So we don't know where he's taking him, but we'll see where they're gonna go. Now, our next match, I have to say this was a pretty good match. We have Metaphor, consistent of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend taking on Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon. I have to say it was a pretty good match. I liked it. Even Ora Mensah tried to get involved, but I like how Feroz stomped on his hand to teach him a lesson. But however, that wasn't enough. Feroz got pump kicked by Lash Legend, giving them the win. Giving, of course, the opportunity for Metaphor that hopefully they can get back to the top since the loss of the NXT Heritage Cup. Now, our main event is, of course, I have to say this is a big one, and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins defends it against, of course, Braun Breaker. However, the only concern is the ribs of Seth Rollins. Recently, this past week, we saw that Of course, Finn Balor attacks him, but that did not stop Seth Efron Rollins. It did not stop him one way or the other until he applied, of course, the stomp on Braun Breaker. 1, 2, 3. He retained the title. But when that was said and done, once again, Finn Balor attacks him, telling him that he'll be taking the belt. But luckily for Balor, he had backup, and that is none other than our current NXT champion and his buddy, Trick Williams. So we're going to see what happens until Seth Rollins and Finn Balor actually clashes for the WWE World Heavyweight title. And I think that's pretty much it for NXT. I believe it's time for our lasting news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So this is what we have. Prestige Wrestling has announced for 2 matches for the first round of the Cascadia Wrestling Cup that will take place on the 8th and 9th of July. Like I said before, 2-round matches. Our first match is a 3-way match. We have Artemis Spencer versus Ethan HD versus Judas Icarus, or Icarus, or whatever he calls himself. Yeah. And of course, we have Jaden taking on Chris Brady. So this was announced recently on their Twitter page, so I'm looking forward to see how this is going to go. West Coast Pro has announced for 2 things. 1, Cruel Summer for July 8th. We have none other than Shigusa Nagayo making her return. Yes, folks. She's coming back to West Coast Pro. I'm sure because she'll be mentoring Riko Kawahara and Maria, who will be participating in a tag match. So this is going to be interesting. Now, speaking with more of the West Coast Pro, it was announced for the West Coast Cup this year, Speedball Mike Bailey will be participating. So that's going to be awesome to hear. Now, GCW announced for the Now and Forever event that we're going to have Commander versus Gringo Loco versus Aries. So that's going to be one killer match. Fightful Selects has reported that Tommy Dreamer has announced that he has skin cancer, and he describes what the surgery is going to be like. So I did not get a chance to see it, and to be honest with you, I don't know I don't like to talk about the details of the surgery because it kind of gets me a bad image, like that sort of thing. But I'm glad that he's going to get some help, get treatment, and I hope he recovers soon. Impact Wrestling has announced for their Summer Sizzler match on the 23rd of this month. The Impact World title will be on the line. Alex Shelley defends it against the so-called most professional wrestler, Brian Myers. Wrestling Revolver has announced for the Cage of Horrors event on the 1st of July, we're going to have a dog collar match between Crash Jackson and Madman Fulton. This is payback for what happened last time between Fulton and Jackson, so this is going to be on. Now, for all of you, if you guys are part of the Chicago area or you guys are a fan of this promotion, AAW, as you know, recently they have been dealing with some situations about a venue. They put out a statement talking about it. See if I can pull it out for everybody to read. Let me get that. So this is what they said. To start this out, I would like to say thank you to everyone who supported after the incident in Irvine Hall this past weekend. It was overwhelming to see the wrestling community come together and have our backs. The first time AAW history, the venue owner neglect has brought up biggest financial hardship we have faced. We have been doing business with the owner Logan Square of the Auditorium in Irvine High since 2015, and sad to say, the trust has been broken. Yikes. A few weeks prior, we were informed by the 115 Burden Street that we could no longer have events there. Their insurance company was bought out by a big company that they were forced to cancel all boxing, MMA, and pro wrestling events. This wasn't easy news to take, but we will move forward. The last few days have been tough, stressful, and emotional for everyone in AAW. We will move forward in a positive direction to keep you the very best professional wrestling in Chicagoland area. The Berwyn Eagles Club has stepped up to take on many dates on the schedule as possible. So as you know that the venues they have done in the past are no longer optional, so they're going to try to press on. Hopefully something great for that. And of course, if you guys are from the Chicago area, any of you guys, my subscribers, are from that, I commend you guys for being good fans. And let's just keep on supporting this promotion. Finally, as you guys mentioned, I mentioned before in a news update, Naomichi Marifuji has making a press conference. Many people were speculating that this was the announcement of his retirement. Boy, I was wrong. He announced for the 25th anniversary show that he's going to put out. This is great, 25 years of pro wrestling. I became a fan of Pro Wrestling Noah through the 20th anniversary of Naomichi Marifuji when he challenged what was it, 25th, I don't know, but anyway, he actually took on his frenemy and rival, of course, Kenta, who at the time was known as Hideo Hitomi. So I thought that was a pretty good show, but I can't wait to see what this one's going to be like. So I think that's pretty much it, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have AEW Dynamite. As you know, we're getting closer now to the Forbidden Door. I'm so excited for this one. It's going to be a ball breaker show. So we're going to see what takes place. Now, I want to put this as an announcement. It appears that Bryan Danielson is calling out to Okada. So we'll see what happens. If there's any other shows I will put out, I'll be putting it out. If not, we'll just stick with AEW Dynamite. I think that's pretty much it what we have for now, but we'll just leave it as that. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.